بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Alhamdulillah, welcome to the second lesson of Al-I'rab, declension. Last week we left off explaining the difference between raf, nasb and jar, the grammatical moods, grammatical states they are known as, and marfu, mansub and majroor. And the simple difference was raf is the state, marfu is the word that experiences the state of raf. Nasb is the state of one of the grammatical moods, and mansub is the word that experiences that state. And majroor is the third state we come across in relation to nouns. And jar is the state, and majroor is the word that experiences that state. So now moving on, inshallah. Okay. So when we say that a word is impacted in the Arabic language due to a word before it, this is known as mu'rab. It is known as mu'rab. Okay. Okay. So when we have a word which is mu'rab, a word which is impacted, okay, there are only two words in the Arabic language that experience a change, i.e., they are impacted by an amil, a governing word. And one of them is al-ismul mu'rab. Al-ismul mu'rab. So in the state of raf, a noun which is impacted and he accepts i'rab, the harakats, etc. Okay, it can experience the state of raf. So the example we have here is al-ilmu nafi'un. Knowledge is beneficial, or the knowledge is beneficial. So we can see here that one of the words that is considered to be mu'rab, i.e., it changes and impacts, okay, is al-ismul mu'rab. Now, what is al-ismul mu'rab? It's any noun in Arabic that is not mabni. Okay, so when we say mabni, we mean words like even ismul ishara will come under there, like hada, alladhi will come under there, ism mawsul, ismul istifham, like the word ma. For example, we say ma hada, or even when you use the word man, we say man hada, who is this? So any noun in Arabic, if you don't fall under mabni, it will be considered to be mu'rab. More specifically, because it's a noun, it'll be al-ismul mu'rab. So al-ismul mu'rab, okay, the noun which is impacted can experience the state of raf. So here we have the example al-ilmu nafi'un. Both these words, al-ilmu, okay, it's not your nouns which are mabni. So ma, man, hada, alladhi, kam, kada, etc., which we will learn later on. No need to worry about that. But at this stage, we just need to know that there's two things that change in the Arabic language. One is al-ismul mu'rab, and al-ismul mu'rab experiences few grammatical moods. So one of them is al-raf. So al-ilmu is ismul mu'rab, okay, and it's experienced in the state of raf because it's mubtada'un, and nafi'un is also experiencing the state of raf because it's khabar. And both we can see have dhamma. The first having dhamma, just single dhamma because of al, and the second one having dhammatain because there's no al. That's one mood al-ismul mu'rab experiences. It can also experience a nasb as well. For example, ra'aytul ilma nafi'an. I see knowledge to be beneficial. So we can see here al-ismul mu'rab, the word al-ilm and nafi', now both have changed in terms of experiencing the state and also the sign of experiencing that state. So here is experiencing the state of nasb because we have fail and fa'il, ra'aytu, fail and fa'il, And we know that a فعل, if it's متعدي, transitive verb, it will require a مفعول به. Now here, رأى is not transitive to one maf'ul, it's actually transitive to two maf'uls, because there's two types of seeing, two types of ru'ya. One ru'ya is basariya, which means you actually sight with the eye. So for example, I say ra'aytu Zaydan, I saw Zayd. And one is ru'yata qalbiyya, which has got to do with your thoughts and perceptions and your, thinking. So رأيت العلم نافعا means I believe knowledge to be beneficial, or I see knowledge to be beneficial. So this one's not رؤية بصرية, this is رؤية قلبية, so it'll be متعدي إلى مفعولين, towards two maf'uls. The point here is that العلم النافع, both these words are معرب. الاسم المعرب, okay? And they experience the state of nas because العلم is مفعول به أول, النافع is مفعول به ثاني. الاسم المعرب also experiences the state of jar. So we have the sentence here: اشتغلت بالعلم النافع. I was busy with beneficial knowledge. So we can see that the word ilm and nafi here, obviously is used as man'ut and nat. They are experiencing the state of jar. Al-ilm, more specifically, is experiencing the state of jar because it comes after harf jar bi. And nafi is experiencing the state of jar because it's the nat, and nat follows the i'rab of the man'ut. So the point here we're trying to make here is that the thing we're trying to understand here is mu'rab is any word that's impacted in the Arabic language. And there are only two words. One is al-ismul mu'rab. And what is al-ismul mu'rab? Any noun other than which come under those nouns which are mabni, which we will learn, inshallah. And al-ismul mu'rab will only experience three grammatical moods: raf, nasb, and jar. The second thing that, well, finally, we have another mood which is jazm, but we can't associate that with an ism because jazm is a state when there are words like li, lam, lamma, and particles of condition like in. When these words come on fa'il mudari, they will impact them, like we will learn, inshallah, shortly. But jazm does not, this grammatical mood does not apply to nouns because you don't get lam, lamma, or in coming before nouns that they actually govern them and put them in the state of jazm. Okay, so when it comes to al-ism al-mu'rab, only three moods apply to al-ism al-mu'rab. Jazm would not apply to al-ism al-mu'rab. The second thing that's impacted in the Arabic language is al-fi'l al-mudari, the imperfect tense verb. So these are the only two things that change in the Arabic language. Everything else, okay, won't accept a change. So for example, fi'l mudari, there are other little details which we will learn later on. Okay, that fi'l mudari, not totally it's mu'rab, there are some exceptions, but on the whole, fi'l mudari can be impacted by words that come before. So fi'l mudari experiences the state of raf. For example, we have here yaktubu zaydun. Zayd is writing. Now by default, a fi'l mudari, if there is no governing agents, awamil, like words allan kay idhan, or li, which is lam amr, li yaf'al, or la nahi, which is la yaf'al, or lamma, etc., or in. If these words don't come before fi'l mudari is free from that, then by default it'll be marfu. So we can see yaktubu, it don't come after words like lam, amr, liyaktub, or la nahi la yaktub, or lamma yaktub, or in yaktub. No. So fi'l mudari here is experiencing the state of raf because it's free from huruf nasiba and huruf jazima, those particles that govern it to be in the state of nasb or jazm. Also, فعل مضارع can experience the state of nasb. Okay, so for example, لن يكتب زيد. Zaid will never write. So we know from obviously books of Nah and Lan Kay Idan, they govern the فعل مضارع and 5 sigas يفعل تفعل أفعل نفعل, okay, and تفعل twice actually. It will give a fatha, and if he has noon i'rabi, the noon i'rabi will drop off. So hence here we can see that the فعل مضارع has experienced the state of nasb, and we can see that by having a fatha. Also, we won't see that فعل مضارع will not experience the state of jar, because حرف jar comes before a noun, not before a verb. Therefore, فعل مضارع does not experience the state of jar. We may see in the Quran that there are حروف جارة or حروف الجر that appear seemingly before فعل مضارع, but in that situation there's actually something hidden in between the حرف جر and the فعل مضارع. For example, we have حتى تنكيح زوجا غيره. Now تنكيح is mansoob not because حتى, حتى is حرف جر, but تنكيح is فعل مضارع. So how has حتى come before تنكيح? We thought, particle حروف الجر don't come before فعل مضارع. Whenever you have حتى and you have a فعل مضارع after it, أن will be assumed to be hidden. So in other words, you're saying حتى أن تنكيح. So in essence, حتى has not entered upon the فعل مضارع. It's come before أن, which is assumed to be there. That's why تنكيح is mansoob with a fatha. Okay? So فعل مضارع don't experience the state of jar. Even though we may see, wherever you see that it seems like there's a harf jar before the فعل مضارع, then there will be something assumed to be hidden between the harf jar and the فعل مضارع. So keep that point in mind. فعل مضارع also experiences the state of jazm. So we know from our grammar books, لام أمر, which is li, okay, لا nahi, which is la, when you stop someone from doing something, lamma, which gives the meaning as not yet. For example, um, somebody says lamma يأكل زيد, Zaid has not ate yet. So lamma just means that you have not done that thing yet. Okay. So these particles that come before فعل مضارع, they will actually put that فعل مضارع in the state of jazm. Okay. So we can see لم يكتب زيد. Zaid did not write. So to summarize this, what we want to understand here is al-mu'rab is a word which is impacted. And there are only 2 words that are impacted in the Arabic language. One is al-ismul mu'rab, okay, and the second one is al-fi'lul mudari. Al-ismul mu'rab experiences 3 states: raf, nasb, and jar. Like we had in these examples here. Al-ilmu nafi'un, al-ilma nafi'an, al-ilm, and an-nafi'. It don't experience the state of jazm. Fi'l mudari experiences the raf state, it experiences the nasb state, it don't experience the jar state, however, it does experience the jazm state. Now, like I said, this is just a little idea of which words are impacted, but inshallah, when we get further into the course, we will realize al-ismul mu'rab is not, it's more than just words which are other than mabni. There actually will be a series of words that will come under al-ismul mu'rab. Okay, so just think al-ismul mu'rab, okay, is any noun that's impacted other than the word which is mabni, but it'll be a list of words, and that will be our main focus when we want to determine the i'rab of nouns that are governed. And under fi'l mudari, we need to keep in mind as well, not every single fi'l mudari is mu'rab, because if it's attached with the emphatic noon, so la yaf'alanna, or if he has noonun niswa, the noon which denotes plural feminine, yaf'alna and taf'alna, that will still remain regardless if there's lan before it or lam before it. For example, let's just say we want to say yaktubna, all those women are writing. And we want to bring lan before it, it'll be lan yaktubna. It'll still remain the same. And if you put lam before it, it will still be lam yaktubna. Those women, all those women did not write. So if he has the plural noun of feminine plural, yaf'alna and taf'alna, those two patterns will remain mabni, okay, which we will learn later on, okay. Up until here, are there any questions before we move on to the next slide? Okay, is it clear that we know that mu'rab is a noun other than mabni, which is known as al-ism al-mu'rab, and the second thing that's impacted is al-fi'l al-mudari. And al-ism al-mu'rab experiences three states, and al-fi'l mudari also experiences three states, but the difference is the jar and jazm. Is that understood? Any questions before I move on to the next slide? Clear? Okay, alhamdulillah, no questions. Now, I hope you have got your thinking caps on, and you need to make sure that you're charged, because there is some things coming up which might get a bit technical, but it's my job to kind of break it down for you. Okay. Now we've tackled al-mu'rab, and we've tackled the states and which words the states are applied to. Now, going a bit more into the signs of the i'rab. Remember, the signs was dhamma, fatha, kasra, alif, waw, ya, sukun. Okay, so you can actually look at alamatul i'rab. You can actually divide it into three types, but we will look at each one first. When you see a word in a specific state, there's a sign, there's indicators that show that that word is in that particular state. So the first sign is vowels. You'll actually see a harakat, a short vowel. So the first sign is al-haraka. So for example, al-dhamma is a harakat. It's a short vowel. That is a sign that a word is in a particular state. So we see ja'a Muhammadun. The dhamma here is indicating that Muhammad is in the state of raf because the fa'il of ja'a. Also, we have al-fatha. Ra'aytu Muhammadan. I saw Muhammad. The fatha here, obviously fathatain, is indicating that the word Muhammad is in the state of nasb because it's maf'ul bihi. And we have al-kasra. Marartu bi Muhammadin. I passed by Muhammad. The kasra here is indicating that the word Muhammad is in the state of jar, okay, and is being governed by the governing agent, which is B. So the first sign of a word being in a particular state is through short vowels, al-haraka. Then we have al-harf. Sometimes it's not even got to do with vowels. The vowels, short vowels, don't give away what state a word is in. Sometimes it's actually a letter. Okay, so we have al-alif, for example. So al-alif is a sign sometimes, okay, that a word is in the state of nasb. Okay, so we got here ra'aytu abaka. I saw your father. We will learn later on exactly which words is alif a sign for it to be in a particular state, and the other ones as well, waw and ya. But for now, just understand that adding a harf is a sign of a word being in a particular state. So here, when we have words like abun, father, akhun, brother, when we make that mudaf towards anything besides ya'ul mutakallim, so anything besides the ya, so we're not saying abi or akhi, my brother or my father. Those type of words, when you make a mudaf towards anything else besides ya'ul mutakallim, so here it's mudaf towards the ka. In the state of nasb, alif will be the indicator. Alif will be the alama that that word is in the state of nasb. And here we can see why is it in the state of nasb? Because I saw your father, abaka, that's maf'ul bihi. Because you got ra'aytu, which is fail and fa'il. Here, this is ru'yata basriya, actual seeing, not with the heart and the mind. I saw your father. If I added and I said ra'aytu abaka salihan, I see your father to be righteous. Will that be ru'yata qalbiyya or basriya? Will that be the sighting of the heart and mind, or will that be the sighting of the eyes? Qalbiyya. So ru'yata qalbiyya requires two mafuls. So how would you know if it's ru'yata qalbiyya, or it's in relation to the heart and mind, or if it's in relation to the actual eyes? You'll see two mafuls normally in ru'yata qalbiyya. Okay? Anyway, that was a side point. Sometimes the wow is the indicator that a word is in a specific state. So we're using the same word, your father. But now we can see from alif we've changed to a wow, because these words abun, when you make a mudaf towards anything besides ya'ul mutakallim, in the state of raf, the wow will be the indicator that it's in the state of raf. And why is abu in the state of raf here? Because it's the fa'il of ja'a, and fa'il is marfu, which we will learn inshallah in great detail. Okay? Ja'a is fa'il, abu is mudaf, but it's one of those words which, if it's mudaf towards ya other than ya al-mutakallim, in the state of it will have a wow. Okay? So ja'a abuka. Abu is the fa'il of ja'a. So we can see there's no harakat involved here in terms of being the sign of a word being in a specific state. It's alif and waw. And same example, marartu bi abika. I passed by your father. So in all three examples, we're saying your father. But the difference is each one has been governed in its experience in a certain mood, and that mood is expressed by the harf. And the harf indicates that what mood that word is experiencing. So ya indicates in these type of words when the muzaf towards ya other than ya al-mutakallim, anything else, ya indicates that it's in the state of jar. So bi abika, and obviously we know it comes after b, so the ba harful jar is governing the word your father, but the governance is expressed with a ya. Okay, so we have haraka giving signs and indicators of a word being in a particular state. We have huruf as well. Okay, so particles, or you want to say long vowels, because why do you call these long vowels? Because when you say these words, you actually stretch in. So abaka, abuka, abika, whereas we call these short vowels because there's like a stop. Muhammadun, there's no stretch. Muhammadan, bi Muhammadin. Also, we have noon. So harf, okay, we got alif, we got waw, we got ya. Now I've just given an example of fi'l mudari here, because when it comes to fi'l mudari, the noon is the indicator that comes at the end. Tansuruna becomes the indicator of a word being in a particular state. When fi'l mudari, okay, if we remember our sarf, the gardan goes yaf'alu, yaf'alani, yaf'aluna, taf'alu, taf'alani, yaf'alna, taf'alu, taf'alani, taf'aluna, taf'alina, taf'alani, taf'alna, af'alu, naf'alu. Now, when I read this gardan, this paradigm, some of the cases had noon. Other than yaf'alna and taf'alna, which is known as noonun niswa, the feminine plural noon, all the other noons are known as noon i'rabi. That noon which declines. Why? Because when the fi'l mudari that contains that noon which is i'rabi, okay, which is all the noons besides yaf'alna and taf'alna, in the state of raf, the noon will remain. In the state of nasb and jazm, the noon will drop off. So here we can see you all are helping Zayd. There's no lam before it, there's no lan before it. Okay, so the noon is the indicator it's a harf that this fi'l mudari is in the state of raf. Because had that noon been removed, for example, if you put lam before it, the noon will go away. Okay, so the noon is the indicator and the sign alamatul i'rab that the fi'l mudari is in the state of raf. We also have other indicators that show a word being in a particular state, and that is al-hazf, omission, where you omit something. So, for example, you can omit hazful haraka. Omitting a harakat is a sign that of a word being in a particular state. So here we normally would have yansuru zaydun. Zayd is helping. But the fact that lam has come on yansur, it now has put it in the state of jazm. Now, what's the indicator that yansur is in the state of jazm? Hazful haraka. You've omitted the haraka, which is a dhamma, because before it was yansuru, now it's become yansur. The fact that you have removed the haraka, hadful haraka, that is the indicator that yansur is in the state of jazm. The point here is that removal of the haraka is a sign. Next, you can have hadful akhir. You're not removing a vowel, you're actually removing the last part of the word. For example, lam yarda zaydun. Zayd is not happy. And don't ask me why. It probably was because he didn't get to, enter Buckingham Palace. Okay? I'm not sure what the reason is. Okay? But I'm sure studying I'rab might cheer him up. So, lam yarda zaydun. Yarda, when we actually write it, is actually with a ya at the end and the kara zabar on the dad, which is known as alif maqsura. Lam yarda Zaydun was actually yarda, but when lam entered it, it's omitted the end of the word, which is the ya, and the alif has been removed, so you're only left with a fatha, and you're going to say lam yarda Zaydun. So the point here is removing something at the end is a sign of a word being in a particular state, and in this case, the fi'l mudari is in the state of jazm because of lam. It's a sign. Also, what's a sign? Hadfun noon. Removal of the noon i'rabi is a sign of the fi'l mudari being in a particular state. So here we have lam tansuru zaydan. You did not help Zayd. All you men. Okay? After Zayd went through all those emotions and everything, and he was overlooked by the beefeater, banged his head onto the lamppost. No, you did not come to his rescue. You did not help Zayd. Lam tansuru Zaydan. You did not help Zayd. So here, the removal of the noon, removing of the noon is a sign of the fi'l mudari being in the state of jazm. So, in a nutshell, the sign of the i'rab, okay, are either the harakat, dhamma, fatha, kasra, muhammadun, muhammadan, muhammadin. The sign can also be a harf, abaka, abuka, and abika. So alif, waw, ya. And also it could be keeping of the noon, tansuruna. Also, the sign of a word being in a particular state, the sign and the indicator can be hazf, removal. What do you remove? You can remove a haraka. Lam yansur zaydun. Or you can remove the ending of the word, lam yarda zaydun, or you remove the noon. In this case, that will be in relation to fi'l mudari. Lam tansuru zaydan. Okay. Any questions in regards to this slide, inshallah, before we move on to the other slide? Is there any questions in regards to this slide? By the way, today's lesson, I'm going to be honest with you. This is something I've added extra. Okay, so whatever we are going to be covering today it was not actually part of the course, but I've actually put extra information in, which I think may be beneficial for you. So remember, the bigger picture is we're going to join all the dots afterwards. So just treat today's lesson as another muqaddimah, like an introduction to I'rab. Okay? So don't think, where are we heading? Where's this going? Okay? A lot of signs being mentioned, uh, you know, uh, quite a few things. It might seem a bit loose, but once we get out the introduction, I'll give you the cycle of the diacritical analysis, and then that's when you'll become clear. So you'll have to bear with me. I hope you're finding this beneficial. And the extra information which I'm going to be covering today, inshallah, I'll try my best to wrap it up within the hour. Is something introduction points to I'rab. Okay, and then hopefully next lesson we'll go through the bigger picture and how it's going to work, the cycle of diacritical analysis. Now, this is the part where I want you to actually put your thinking caps on, okay? So it's very easy, it's not hard, okay? But it's important that we understand that I'rab is of a few types, okay? So, أقسام الإعراب, types of I'rab, okay? We have one type of I'rab here, which is al-i'rabu al-lafziyu. What is إعراب لفظي؟ أثر ظاهر في آخر الكلمة يجلبه العامل. Okay. إعراب لفظي is an apparent effect on the last letter of a word which the governing word brings about. يجلبه brings about. For example, يكرم الأستاذ المجتهد. The teacher honors the hard-working one. Let me just mention this again. إعراب اللفظي is an apparent effect. We can see al-ustadhu, the dhamma is apparent, is visible. We can see it. There's nothing behind the scenes. Al-mujtahida, we can see the fatha. Okay, it's clear. So this is the effect of the governing word. Yukrimu is the governing word here because it's fa'il mudari. And fa'il mudari ma'ruf, the active voice imperfect tense verb has a fa'il which is al-ustadhu. Hence, its fa'il is considered to be in the rough state. It's got a dhamma, and it also requires a maf'ul bihi, and maf'ul bihi is considered to be in the nasb state, and that is indicated by a fatha. But the point here we're trying to make is that the effect, we can see that it's evident. Okay, this effect has been brought about because of the governing agent here, yukrimu. Yukrimu will be considered to be the amil. This is known as i'rab lafzi. Next we have is al-i'rab at-taqdiri. I'rab which is assumed. So it's not evident. أثر غير ظاهر على آخر الكلمة يجلبه العامل. It is an effect which is not visible. غير ظاهر, not visible, on the last letter of the word, which is brought about, okay, by the governing agent. Okay. فتكون الحركة. So what happens? Where's the حركة? Okay, if it's not evident, where is it? فتكون الحركة مقدرة. The حركة is assumed. لأنه غير ملحوظة. Why is the حركة assumed? Because it's not seeable, it's not visible. You can't see it there in the text. That's why you will have to assume it. So we have a few examples here, and I'll explain why I've given a few examples. So we have the first one. If you just focus on the red the word or the letter that's got the red mark, red is highlighted in red. That's the letters we are looking at where the assumption is of the حركة. So let's just first go through this. يهوى الفتى الهدى للعلا. The youngster loves guidance للعلا for degrees, meaning to attain higher levels. Okay, so now what's happening here? يهوى. يهوى, okay, is فعل مضارع. It was actually يهوى. يهوى. But because of the change in terms of the word, according to the morphological system, it no longer is Yahwayu, it became Yahwa. So what's happened to the Dhamma? The Dhamma is behind the scenes. So here the I'rab is not lafzi. Because if we said, for example, Yaqra'u, you can see the Dhamma and the Hamza, Yaqra'u. But here you can't see the sign of the I'rab. It's not evident. It's not clear. It's behind the scene, so it'll be assumed. So Yahwayu. All the words here, this is the example they give because all the words here, they actually, the I'rab is behind the scenes. The sign of the I'rab is actually behind the scenes. Al-Fata means the youngster. Fatun Jama is Fityatun, it means youngster. Like in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He talks about the people of the cave, He says, Innahum Fityatun amanu bi rabbihim wa zidnahum huda. So Al-Fata, this has got alif maqsura at the end. This word is ismun maqsurun. And words which are ism maqsur, the i'rab is taking place behind the scene. The sign of the i'rab is expressed behind the scene. So in other words, the youngster loves guidance. So that should have been al-fatayu. But because the word after it underwent its changes, it was left with alif maqsura, we will assume that the dhamma, because it's fa'il, it'll be marfu with the dhamma, is behind the scene. What was the youngster like? He loves guidance. That's maf'ul bihi. But you can't see the fatha and the ya is changed and then it's replaced with the alif and is stretched. So you're saying al-huda. So the i'rab is taking place muqaddaratan, assumed behind the scenes. Now, when would the i'rab be assumed? Number one, when you have alif maqsura at the end. Yahwa, al-fata, al-huda, al-ula. Also, the i'rab will be assumed to be hidden in when you have any word, any noun which is muzaf towards ya al-mutakallim. Any noun which is muzaf towards ya al-mutakallim, that noun, the i'rab will be in the background. So when you say Rabbi Allahu, my Lord is Allah. Now, before the ya, the word is Rabbun, Lord. So it's got a dhamma. But the fact that you are making it muzaf towards ya ul mutakallim, you got no choice but to give the ba a kasra because of the munasabat of the ya ul mutakallim. Because you can't say Rabbu, it's going to be hard. You can't go from a dhamma to a ya with a sukoon. So you have to give the last letter a kasra and say Rabbi. But because you're joining the word Rabbi, now where did the fatha come from? Why are you saying Rabbi Allah? Yes, it's Rabbi, but because now you're joining the ya ul mutakallim, which has got a sukoon, onto the next word which starts with a fatha. It's got a fatha. So you're going from, okay, from a sukoon preceded by a kasra, the next word with a fatha, okay? So the suitability of the next word, you'll give the ya a fatha and say Rabbi Allah. So the fatha and the ya has just come about, temporarily. But the point here we're trying to make is, when you say my Lord is Allah, the word Rabb has got a dhamma because it's fa'il, but the dhamma is not lafzi, it's not evident, It's not أثر ظاهر, it's أثر غير ظاهر. It's behind the scene, it's assumed. Let's look at another example. أطعت ربي. I obeyed my Lord. Now, the word Lord, if before the Ya al-Mutakallim, it'll be Rabban. So it should have had a fatha. But the fact that you're making the muzaf towards Ya al-Mutakallim and saying, my Lord, now the i'rab is happening behind the scenes. So the fatha will be assumed to be muqaddaran. It'll be there, but behind the scene. It'll be assumed. It won't be evident. It's not visible. Okay? So these are second types of words where the i'rab will be taqdeeri. It'll be assumed. So first we have nouns or words or verbs which has got alif maqsoor at the end. Okay? The i'rab will be known to be taqdeeri. And the second one is any noun which is muzaf towards ya al-mutakallim, the i'rab will be assumed to be taking place in the background. The third type is al-ismul manqus. If you're familiar with al-ismul manqus from your nah books and grammar books, it's a noun which has got ya sakin before it there is a kasra. So al-qadi, al-jani. So other words like al-baqi, al-hadi, al-rami. There's quite a few words that will come under that. Okay. So what's al-ismul manqus? A noun which has ya sakin before it a kasra. So al-qadi, even the verb here, this won't be al-ismul manqus, but it's fa'il mudari, but it has got ya sakin before ya kasra. The point here is the i'rab is going to be taqdeeri, even though it's not al-ismul manqus, okay? But even a fa'il mudari that has the e sound at in like yarmi, yaqdi, yahdi, okay? Baqa yabqi, baka yabki. The i'rab will be muqaddaratan. So yaqdi was yaqdiyu, to judging, deciding. So the judge is deciding, okay, about the perpetrator. Okay. So he's making making a decision in regards to the criminal or the perpetrator. So yaqdiyu, the dhamma here is muqaddaratan. So the fa'il mudari is marfu because there's no allan kaizan. There's nothing giving it a jazm. So the fa'il mudari is marfu, but the dhamma is hidden. Al-qadi, this is the judge who's making the decision. So that the judge is the fa'il. But there's no dhamma because al-ismul manqus in the state of raf, the dhamma is hidden. But it'll be pronounced with the e sound at the end, like al-qadi. Now al-jani, this word, okay, the kasra al-jani, okay, was al-jani with a kasra under the ya, okay, but ismul manqus we will learn later on. In the state of raf and jar, the i'rab will be hidden. It's only in the state of nasb the fatha will be apparent. So for example, let's just say I say ra'aytu al-qa, I'll say al-qadiya. The ya will become apparent. So words like al-ismul manqus, i.e. those words which have yas sakin before ya kasra, in the state of raf and jar, the i'rab will be behind the scenes. And nasb will come about. So here we've done two types of i'rab so far. Next we have is al-i'rab al-mahki, al-mahkiyu. Narrative i'rab. So al-i'rab al-lafziyu, literal i'rab, al-i'rab al-taqdiriyu, assumed i'rab, al-i'rab al-mahkiyu, narrative i'rab or narrated i'rab if you want to say. What's this all about? إيراد اللفظ على ما تسمعه. It's to bring the word according to the way you heard it or you hear it. For example, I wrote, كتبت, I wrote, يعلم. Now, let's just say, for example, the teacher said, who wrote يعلم? So he's wrote on the board the word يعلم and he says, who wrote يعلم? And you say, كتبت يعلم. I wrote يعلم. Now, the word يعلم is maf'ul bihi because that's what you wrote. But you can't bring this word as maf'ul bihi with a fatha at the end and say يعلمن. because you're bringing the word the way it has been narrated, al-Mahki. So the i'rab, okay, is based on the way it's narrated. So you don't give any lafzi harkat to it, i'rab to it. So what's the interpretation? It will mean أي كتبت هذه الكلمة, i.e. I wrote this word, i.e. the word يعلم. Another example is قلت لا إله إلا الله. I said لا إله إلا الله. Now قلت is فعل and tu is فاعل. Now all this whole sentence, okay, is مفعول به because that's what you said. But you're not going to give any apparent vowels on the word La ilaha illallah. This sentence as a whole will be maf'ul bihi, but the i'rab is based on narration. You're bringing the phrase or the word the way it has been heard, and you will still experience the i'rab. But the i'rab will be hikayatan, based on narration. And what this mean? قلت لا إله إلا الله. In other words, قلت هذه الجملة. I said this sentence. I said this sentence. Okay. Another example of this, we hear this, Suratul Kafirun. Now you hear the word Suratul Kafirun. Suratu means chapter. Al Kafirun means the disbelievers. But why are you saying Al Kafirun? Because Jam'un Mudhakkarun Salim words, in when it's mudhaf ilayh, you have to say Al Kafirin, chapter of the disbelievers, Suratul Kafirin. But why are you still saying this is Suratul Kafirun? Because Al-Kafirun, Jam'un Mudhakkarun Salim words, in the state of Raf, you bring a waw. But when you say chapter of the disbelievers, that's mudhaf ilayh construct. But still you say Suratul Kafirun. Why can you say that? Because Al-Kafirun is the word that has come in the surah Al-Kafirun. You're bringing the word the way it's heard and seen in the surah. So you're bringing that as mudhaf ilayh. So you're keeping the hikayatan and the narration the way it is. And you can say chapter of Al-Kafirun. Because the word Al-Kafirun has appeared in the surah Al-Kafirun. So you won't need to say Suratul Kafirin based on i'rab Mahki. Because you're bringing the word the way you've heard it. And you're using in the sentence. You don't need to bring anything in terms of lafzi, i'rab, anything like that. You can keep that the way it is. Okay. Next we have is i'rab Mahalli. I'rab Mahalli is where a word experiences the i'rab, and the i'rab is not something which is visible. You can't see it, and it's not assumed, and it's not even based on narration. It's all based on that the word finds itself to be in that position. So it's positional i'rab. So let me just say that again. Let's just go through the Arabic. What's i'rab Mahalli? تغير اعتباري. It's a considered change بسبب العامل, according to the governing agent. فلا يكون ظاهرا. So it is not apparent. So that's ruled out i'rab al-lafzi. Okay, and it's not muqaddaran, it's not assumed. And nor is it mahkiyan, it's not even you're bringing a word the way you've heard it. It's not even that. So for example, we got جاء هؤلاء التلاميذ. These students came. جاء is فعل ماضي. هؤلاء means these. التلاميذ means students. Now look at this word هؤلاء. Okay. Now this is fa'il, but the i'rab is not lafzi, because if it was, it would have had a pesh. It's not even assumed. Okay, that it's one of these words, that ism al-maqsoor, or it's ism which is mudaf to al-mutakallim, or is al-ism al-manqus, that you have to assume it in the background. No, it's a mabni word. So words which are mabni, you will say that they experience a state, but which is not lafzi, which is not assumed, and which is not based on narration. It actually finds itself to be in that position. So the i'rab is mahalli. So we will say هؤلاء is ismul ushara fi mahalli raf. It's in the position of raf. Okay, لكونه فاعلا, because it is fa'il. So words which are mabni, generally these are the words that will experience, okay, the إعراب محلي. Now look at another example. أكرمت من تعلم. I honored the one who learned. Okay. Now أكرمت is فعل فاعل. That's I honored. So you got the فعل فاعل. Man is the اسم موصول. That's the مفعول به. That's who I honored. Okay. That's the مفعول به. But we can't see the fatha there. So it's not إعراب لفظي. We can't even assume the إعراب because it's not got ألف مقصورة. Or it's not ism which is muzaf towards ya al-mutakallim. Nor is it al-ism al-manqus. And it can't be even i'rab mahki because we are not narrating anything that we're bringing that word and fitting into the sentence because we've heard it, okay? Or somebody has made reference to it and you're using that word and you're bringing it as part of the sentence. No. Okay? So here the i'rab man, it'll be ismul mawsul, the relative pronoun, but it's experiencing the state of nasb, but the i'rab here is mahallan. So these were two examples of nouns, okay? So individual words. A sentence can experience the mahalli i'rab, okay? A sentence can experience the mahalli i'rab, positional i'rab. So let's look at this example. Allahu yabsutu rizqa. Allah spreads out the sustenance. Allah is mubtada'un. Hence, obviously, mubtada is marfu, it's going to have a dhamma. So we're saying Allahu yabsutu is fa'il mudari. There's no huruf nasiban jazima before it. So by default, it's going to be marfu with a dhamma. So yabsutu, the fa'il is inside, which is huwa, and that refers back to ismul jalala. And Allah spreads out what? The sustenance. Ar-rizq. So the word ar-rizq is what? Maf'ul bihi. Now, the fa'il yabsutu with its fa'il, which is huwa, and ar-rizq, which is maf'ul bihi, all this yabsutu rizqa, this whole sentence, okay, which state do you think it's experiencing? Anybody? Which state do you think yabsutu rizqa is experiencing? Raf. Anybody else? Considering Allah who is mubtada on yabsutu rizqa, okay, the fa'il, fa'il, maf'ul bihi. Anybody want to? You can say agree as well. Everybody agree? Or you can disagree? Agree. Okay. Yabsutu rizqa is experiencing the state of raf. Why? Because it's khabar. So the i'rab is mahalli, positional. Why? Because this sentence finds itself to be in a position of khabar. Hence the jumla is fi mahalli raf. Let's just say, for argument's sake, we're not even having to argue, by the way, okay? We bring the word in kana before this. Kana Allahu yabsutu rizqa. Kana Allahu yabsutu rizqa. Just for the sake of the, just to explain a different i'rab to it. So kana Allahu, kana will be fa'il naqis. Allahu will be the ism of kana. Now in that situation, yabsutu rizqa, what would the fa'il fa'il maf'ul bihi become? What state would he experience then? Kana Allahu yabsutu rizqa. Nasb. Why? Why would he experience the state of nasb? Khabar of kana. Good. Okay. So we need to understand here that the sentence can experience what? The states. Okay. And when sentences are experiencing states, the i'rab won't be lafzi because it's not evident. You can't see the sentence as a whole. Yabsutu rizqa, that there's a big dhamma there. Okay, that's indicating that it's in the state of no. There's not taqdeeri. We can't even assume. Okay, there's khabar is marfu, that there's a big dhamma there behind the scene. It's not even mahki. We're not even bringing a narration from somewhere and we're bringing that word and using it hikayatan. No, we're actually saying that that sentence as a whole finds itself to be in the position of khabar. Hence, it's fi mahalli raf. and it will experience the state of rough. Now, this 4 types of i'rab, okay, they are mentioned in books. Some books don't cover it, but I think it's good that we do cover it, because as you study the books of i'rab, they will actually sometimes say this word is in this state, okay, lafzan, or they'll say this word in the rough state muqaddaran, or this word is in this state hikayatan, or this word is in this state mahallan. Okay, so when you hear this, then it should wake you up and think, actually, it's one of those i'rabs when we've done the i'rab course, it actually fits under one of those types of i'rab. There is another few more slides for the introduction, so we might carry on next week, inshallah, with the introduction. It's just some things extra I put in um, into the course, and inshallah, your course, I'll try to wrap it up with the time I did say. Even if you go over, it's a bonus for you, inshallah, and you're learning more as well. Are there any questions in regards to today's lesson? Any questions? So when we say marartu bi Zaydin is maf'ul, is fi mahalli nasb bi Zaydin. Now that one, bi Zaydin, we will just say ba is harf jar, Zayd is majroor. Okay. It's only some grammarians say, you know what, bi Zaydin, okay, it's maf'ul bihi bi wasitatil harf al jar. So if you want to go down that route, okay, you can possibly say that bizaydin as a whole fi mahalli nasb, if you want to say that it's maf'ul bihi bi wasitati harf al jar. But just on the common ground, common level, if somebody just studying it for the first time, etc., and they see marartu bi zaydin bi harf al jar, zayd is majroor, the i'rab is bi lafzi. Okay, instead of interpreting marartu bi zaydin as tajawaztu zaydan. Okay, that's a bit technical. Okay, but I would just keep to i'rab al-lafzi with marartu bi zaydin. Okay, any other questions? Okay, you can ask the questions. You can use your audio. Is it possible to put mic on, please? Of course, go ahead by all means. I don't want to typing up and it's taking all that time. Okay, it's fine. Let me just give you the permission, because I did take that permission off. Unmute yourself so you can ask the question, inshallah.
Do you start, when we said if we added kana to the kana to this, would that then become al-i'rab thingy lafzi then?
Which one? Yabsutu rizqa?
Yeah.
No, because yabsutu rizqa, the sentence as a whole, yabsutu rizqa, is experiencing the state of nasb, not any individual word.
Okay.
Is that clear?
GG.
Okay. If you only had one word, kana Allahu aliman, aliman,
yes,
that'll be mansoob. I'rab is lafzi.
because it's visible.
It's visible. You can see it. It won't be mahalli.
Okay.
When you start getting sentences experience i'rab.
Okay.
Jumla experiences i'rab. Which next lesson I'm gonna actually go into which sentences actually experience i'rab and which sentences don't experience i'rab. Okay, so I will go into that inshallah next week. That's what I've got prepared.
Okay, inshallah. Jazakallah.
Okay, inshallah, we'll continue from here inshallah next week. I hope you're enjoying it. It might get a bit technical, but I hope once you go over the videos and we have a back and forth in terms of what you understanding and what you finding difficult. Okay, inshallah, things will clear up, inshallah. Okay, so for now, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please use the Telegram support group. If there are any questions, don't shy away. Just don't think you only have to ask questions during the lesson. You can ask questions through the Telegram support group. It's 24 hours. So even if you wake up in the middle of the night and you had a nightmare about i'rab, and then you want to take things off your chest, put in the Telegram group, and then inshallah when I wake up, I'll see. If I know the answer, I'll give you the response, and if I don't know, I'll check up and I'll ask someone, and inshallah we can get to the bottom of it. Okay, for now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.